Welcome everyone. Emotional intelligence for self and others is the topic of discussion for today. We'll speak about how EI impacts everyone in and around. So, basically, what we will talk about it, we'll define the emotions, we will understand the utilities of emotions, the various influences, factors that emotions get influenced by. What is EI or what is the emotional intelligence? There are five attributes we'll talk about it. Absolute five attributes is what we will be talking around. Why it is so important? Yes, definitely. Is EQ better than IQ? Well, a little preempting into you. Yes, EQ is better than IQ. Let us wait for the presentations to get over for you to understand why exactly is all about it and the five skills that is required for raising the emotional intelligence as the case might be. So we'll do everything with emotions today. Remember what are the factors that influences, what are the utilities of the emotions, what is emotional intelligence, how do it relate to intelligence quotient, what is emotional quotient, why is it so important, which one is better, and the skills they're about. This is what we will be discussing in the presentation. Remember, emotion is a natural instinct state of mind that is being derived from one's circumstances, mood, or relationship with others. We are talking everything which is occurring on by its own. It is always organic in nature. It's a state of your mind, it's a thought process, it's the way you emote or exhibit the behavior. Why? How? Because it has been influenced or big stimulation is coming from an external circumstances, perhaps from the internal orientation as far as your mood is concerned, or probably the relationship you are determining. So accordingly you will be coming up with an emotion and your emotion is manifested in the exhibitions of your behavior. So let us understand the positive and the negative emotion. Allow me to give you an example of positive and then the negative. Positive emotions are all about love, appreciation, happiness, hope, enthusiasm, confidence, gratitude, patience, trust, vulnerable, optimistic, appreciative. Whereas the negative connotations would be fear, anger, guilt, depression. We need to understand anxiety, jealousy, resentment, envy, frustration, shame, offended, regret, resentful, sad, and worried. So I have tried to tell it to you in terms of energy level. If you want your energy level is up, perky, vibrant, it's positive emotion. When you feel your energy level is down and out, or you feel exhausted, these are all your negative emotions. Understood. um, a following example, if you look into it, a particular expressions of a gentleman which is been mentioned in this particular slide, which will tell it to you how different they are. Let's say they are might be very angry, they are very apprehensive, they are suspicious. What we are looking at it, they are exasperated, they are questioning or in pensive mood that we talk about it. They are serious, they are morose, people are crying, and you see I'm trying to give you a display of emotion that we undergo, all of us as a human being will be going with these emotion at certain point of our life. So, emotion consists of what? It consists of three things: subjective feeling, expressive behaviors, and physiological responses. Now, I have already said you about the subjective feeling as to your state of your mind, the thought process that is, or how thoughts have been crisscrossing your mind. It is your internal experiences. That is what I have been telling to you. Now, based on those internal experiences, when you exhibit certain behavior is your expressive behavior. So if you're agitated you will be angry, right? So this is your outward sign. So subjective feeling is an inward reaction, and the expressive behavior would be an outward manifestation or the signs that an emotion has been experienced. A person is going through a certain degree, certain varieties of emotion that probably he or she is going through. So this will be known through or been felt through or been expressed via the body languages, facial expression, and so on and so forth. Then there is something called physiological responses, wherein it impacts your body when we experience a particular emotion. This can be the operation of your brain as well as autonomous nervous system. Again, let me state to you very categorically: autonomous nervous system or the operation of the brain. Remember, it is often our awareness of arousal that makes us suddenly aware that we are experiencing an emotion. It's an arousal that arousals. Emotion aroused to move and take action. I am sure that most of you have got yourself vaccinated because of this pandemic that gone around it, and there were people apprehensive of taking an injection into their body. People were apprehending, and their manifestation will be completely different, whether they were going to experience pain or not. This is what we are looking about it. This is the emotion that arouses and move to take action. People desist, people resist, people are afraid of, people make sound, people are shouting. And then there are persons who might have walked into the vaccination center, took the vaccine and walked out without any uh, visible exhibitions of any sort of behavior, as if it was a normal day. So that is what is meant by arousal, the motivation. Remember, people have been motivated for uh, certain activities, right? They have a certain drive towards it. People are fond of food, for example, so they would be motivated to visit fine dining restaurants, or should I say, people are motivated to score high marks or earn more money. Accordingly, they will tune their behaviors to that requirement so that they satisfy their cravings altogether, and that is what is motivation. Functions of emotion is what we are talking about it. Then comes the adaptive function. What does it means? It means that we are going to be flexible and probably adjust according to a situation. Remember, all of us, if we are very angry, we might be very angry and exhibit atrocious behavior. Where? At your home front. Why don't we exhibit such kind of behavior in an official decorum or in the corporate world? Because that means it is going to be detrimental for the career altogether. So you can have opinion which might be different or differ from opinion from rest of the colleagues, or even for that your boss, but you cannot exhibit atrocious behavior in front of your bosses, because then probably you might end up losing your job. So you curtail your behavior, and that is what adaptive function is all about it. Adding color to your lives, yes, everything which is scientific, but it does take into fact the expression of the emotion through art, poetry, literature. That is what gives another segment of imaginations the expression in terms of poetry, in terms of art, in terms of literature. That is what I call the adding color to your life. And last but not the least would be your regulating social interaction, identifying the emotions that the other feels through facial expression, through body language, through the tone of the voice. This is what we are looking around it. Let us understand what are the various factors that comes around it. Remember, various factors of emotions are all about your personality, all about the weather that comes around it, the stress, the social activities, the sleep, the exercise, the age, the gender, the health. Now, with age, as you age, people get mellow in their behavior. If you don't have adequate sleep, people might have difficulty in focusing things. In terms of social activities, if people are not being a great communicator, people might feel lonely or introverted. If the weather is not good, it is very hot, very humid, very rainy, I'm talking about extreme weather, people are apprehensive upon it and probably would like to keep them protected altogether. In essence, your personality has been determined by the emotion that you experiences throughout your life or during your upbringing. You might become a cheerful, happy person if everything has been meted to you, a proper education has been given, you have got the best of the facility that life has to offer, you remain cheerful. But what happens if the best of the facility is not there? You have strived worked hard, labored throughout your life to earn a daily wage as a bread and butter, to earn your daily bread and butter. So what kind of person you will be? You will be a little bit dissatisfied, you will be apprehensive in your nature, and that is what the personality is all about. It is a part of your upbringing and growth process. This is what we are talking around it with health. If people are having a absolutely good health, people will be hearty, people will be happy. But on the other hand, if there are certain things that is a hindering into the health angle altogether, people would be apprehensive, people will not be that confident, people will always take precaution, people would think twice before engaging into an activity. Why? Because of the health, as the case might be. So these are the factors that influences. Now we'll talk about emotional intelligence. Remember, EQ is the ability to identify, use, understand, manage emotions in a positive ways. Remember to relieve stress, communicate effectively, empathize with others, overcome challenges, and diffuse conflict. Emotional intelligence impacts every one of us, each one of us in our daily life, in the way that we behave. If you have a extremely high emotional intelligence, you're able to recognize not only your emotions but also the emotions of the others, and accordingly adapt your behaviors so that you can be able to relate better with them. This leads to what? This leads to a healthier relationship. This leads to having a greater achievement of success at work, and in short, a much fulfilling life that we go across it. That is what emotional intelligence we are talking around it. I hope I'm very clear. Remember, EQ is ability to identify, manage emotion in a positive fashion. A person with higher EQ will not only manage his emotion but will also understand the emotions of the others and accordingly adapt his behavior so that it leads to a fruitful result. This means healthier relationship, a greater success at work, and that is what we are looking at the day. So, attributes of emotional intelligence, you remember these are the five attributes that we go around it. First and foremost is your self awareness, your motivation and passion, your self regulation or self management, your social skills, and the empathy that comes around it. This is emotional intelligence. If you are aware of self awareness, you have to manage yourself probably, because once you start managing yourself, this is taking care of your internal process altogether. Then we exhibit a social skills that comes around it, right? We are trying to manage others. Now how do we manage others? With the help of being empathy, obviously, yes. And social self-awareness is all about your drives, your needs, your motivation, your passion that you are looking into. So, people with high emotional intelligence are usually very self aware. They understand their emotions because they do not let their feelings rule them. In fact, they have a complete control or domination over their feelings, their intuition. They don't let their emotion get out of control. They're also willing to take honest look at themselves. They know their strengths and weaknesses. They work on these areas so that they can perform better. Many people believe that self awareness is the most important part of the emotional intelligence. Self management, on the other hand, is the ability to control emotions, impulses. People who self regulate typically don't allow themselves to become too angry, too jealous, too impulsive. This is what we are looking about it. So you have to make sure that you are emotionally in control, and probably accordingly you will control your behavior. That is what is self is all about it. Once you have done with yourself, you can extend it to your emotional understanding of the others and pick up their emotional cues, make them feel comfortable, make them socially adaptable, recognize their power dynamics, and we can go about it. This is what we are looking. Be empathetic. This is perhaps the most, or should I say, the second most important element in EIs or emotional intelligence. Empathy is the ability to identify with and understand the wants and needs of those around you. Remember, it's not about your requirement, it is the requirement of the people who are in the vicinity of you. People good at empathy are good at recognizing the feeling of others. The feeling may not be obvious, it might be subdued, or they might be, the feelings might be completely latent in nature. You should be able to identify them, be honest with them, and probably tune your behavior in such a fashion that they are able to relate to you. So that is what is empathy is all about. It motivation with a high degree of emotional intelligence are usually motivated. They are willing to defer immediate results for a long term success. So they will try to lose a war but end up winning the battle altogether. So that is what we are looking at it. They are highly productive. They love a challenge and are very effective in it. So we will talk about everything. So why is emotional intelligence so important? This is what we have to talk about. Everything out and outright. So it's the smartest, probably not the very good thing that in all of the most successful in the life. Probably there, but there are people who are academically brilliant, yet they are socially very repressive, or they are not very socially adaptable, very unsuccessful at work. Why? Or in their personal life. Why? Because their intelligence quotient is not enough to be successful in life. IQ can help you get in your college, but EQ is what will help you manage stress and emotion of sitting in your final examination. That is what we have been talking about it. You might be well educated. That doesn't mean that you have the know-how of all the things that is present in and around the world. So, emotional intelligence, what do we go about it? It is your performance at work. Emotional intelligence can help you navigate social complexes in the workplace, in the daily life, lead, motivate others, excel in your career. In fact, when it comes to selecting job candidates, many companies now view emotional intelligence as being as important as technical abilities is all about it. Your physical health, if you are unable to manage your stress level, it can lead to a serious health problem. Uncontrolled stress can raise blood pressure, suppress immune system, increase the risk of heart attack, and speed up your aging process altogether. So believe me or not, this is what emotional intelligence help works you. It might be detrimental to your health if you are not able to control your emotions. Probably in this case, your stress, your performance at work can get um, can get very difficult to achieve. Why? Because you might be suffering from the various kind of complexities that it has been there. You will not be able to relate to the people thereby, so it suffers. Your performance at work suffer. Your mental health inclusive is also what goes down. Why? Because that makes you feel very vulnerable to anxiety, and in short, you fall back or you get into depression as you want to go around it. If not in depression, there are wild mood swings. As a result, what happens, at times you are happy, at times you are very sad, and probably this will keep everybody in, as in your peers, hanging as to what kind of reaction that you will be relating to or uttering around it. This is your relationship. By understanding your emotions and how you control them, you're able to express better, able to understand better the other people better. This is what we are ruling for, rooting for, as to communicate effectively and have a stronger bond at work and in your personal life. So EI affects everything: your personal life, your physical health, your mental health, and your relationship. That is why emotional intelligence is so important. It has the full 360-degree impact on your life, be it personal, professional, or very private, that you're talking about, a private life around it. Remember, IQ is just the tip of the iceberg, whereas EQ is the bulk of the iceberg altogether. Approximately 10% is what is IQ, but rest of the success will depend upon the 90%, which is the EQ that we are talking about it. This is what we are looking. So, is UQ better than IQ? Definitely is. Let us understand why it is the best predictors of success. Many studies shows that emotional intelligence is not only a better indicator, to success than higher intelligent quotient. For example, let's speak about the Virgin Airlines. The owner is Richard Branson, who is dyslexic, who couldn't read or write as well as other classmates were there in the school. And this is well documented and well published. But he became one of the richest man in the world, right? Virgin Airlines, that is what we're talking about it. Absolutely the best one of the should I say Richard Branson today is one of the top 10 richest person in the on this planet. The main reason why is because his EI is much better than what it has been there as for a person who can manage and change the daily actions in everyday life. Another big difference between EQ and IQ is that it measures how you manage, how you react with other people. To lead, to create successful business, you need to be able to be effective and efficient workers to do around the world. You need to able to lead people, and you should lead it by example. You should the people should be able to relate to you. And when will the people be able to relate to you? When you are at absolutely on the same page as they are in. And how can you be in the same page? If you can read their emotions, if you can read their temperament, if you can read their mood and accordingly adjust your behavior. Remember, a high emotional intelligent person can manage these things very effectively compared to a low emotional quotient is concerned. So we come to the next step is how to raise the EI. There are four steps which I believe so is very important. First and foremost thing is to able to quickly reduce stress. Do not get agitated. Remember, whatever is happening is only a passage in time. It will pass as the time goes around it. Skill number two is to ability and manage your emotions. Remember not to give a knee-jerk reaction. Always delay your reaction. The more delayed, the more mellowed the reaction would be. So this is what we are looking into it. Number three skills is the ability to connect others with non-verbal communication. A very pertinent things to understand time and again. It is not what you say, but how you say it matters a lot. It is the non-verbal communication, the body gestures, the facial expression that we are the paraverbal communication, the tone and the pitch of the word actually helps you to understand how the person is feeling around it. It's not the content that matters. The last skills would be the ability to use humor to deal with this challenges. Let us understand these one by one. First and foremost thing is to rapidly reduce stress. Now, how do you go for a stress busting skills? There are three steps that goes around it, which I'll tell you. First, whenever you are stressed, find it out and recognize it. If you find yourself stressing, how is your body reacting? Are you perspiring? Is your palm perspiring? Is your face perspiring? Is your face getting red? Is your stomach muscle having a tight or a sore? Is your hand clenched? Are your breath shallow? How do you go around it? Now, this is where you have to realize that you are stressed. Definitely, then identify your responses. Now, everybody reacts differently. People even have heart attack because of stress. So you need to understand you how to best respond to stress relief activities. That is, how do you cut it down? How do you pacify yourself? Try to go around those stress relief activities. If you think you're getting stressed, probably go into the nature, the lap of the nature. Probably play with an animal. Probably play with the children. Listen to the music. Everybody has got different stress busting activities altogether that are stimulating. So identify your responses. This is what I am trying to tell it to you. Discover the stress busting technique that works and then implement it the best. Did I say listening to the music, eating ice cream, for example, for some people works around it, playing with animals, playing with children, go to the lap of the nature, and so on and so forth, so that there are no burnt out stress syndrome. All we'll come to the second level of emotional awareness. Now, this is where you need to understand how you manage your thoughts, because you are not only managing your thoughts but also understanding the emotions of others. People get disconnected from their emotion Why? Because they have a habit of shutting themselves off or walking away from the situation. Although we can deny our feeling, but can we eliminate them? Probably no. They are still there. We are aware of them. Unfortunately, with emotional awareness, we are unable to fully understand it. So what kind of relationship do you have in your emotions? This is what we look into it. Do you experience feeling that flow from one to another moment, from one moment to another moment? Are you emotionally accompanied by physical sensation, that is experiences in your stomach, in your chest, in your hands, in your limbs? If you have anything, do you experience discrete feelings and emotion? Do you get agitated by the simply the moment you think about something, some person, some situation? Can you eliminate the intense feeling that is strong enough to capture both your attention and the others? Do you pay attention to your emotions? Do they factor in your decision making, as the case is all about it? If any of these experiences are familiar, you must reconnect to your core emotion, accept them and become comfortable with them to be in. So then comes the third skills of the NVC or non-verbal communication that we come around it. So being a good communicator requires more than just verbal skill. Often what you say is often very less important of rest priorities altogether, which we need to understand time and again. It is what we are looking. How do we go about it while clenching your feet? Do you think you are happy with it? Are you happy addressing to or speaking to somebody else who might not be very small soft to yours you, or who is very aggressive towards you or critical of you? How do you look? What is your body language? Is try to understand those non-verbal communication. Remove probably what you need to understand is focus on the other person. If you are planning to say something, let us say about a situation, about anything, probably you're do not go into a different segment or into a daydreaming mode altogether, or go into an hypothetical situation in your thought. Be present out there in front of the person. Make an eye contact, because that will essentially lock in the communication interest. Maintain the flow of the conversation. Pay attention to the non-verbal cues you are sending and receiving, such as the facial expression, the tone of the voice, the posture, and the gesture, touch, and timing pace of the conversation. That the last step is always the humor. You should always play humor while dealing with your colleague. When I say humor, I do not mean being sarcastic in nature. Remember to take hardship into your strides altogether, failures into your stride, delays into your strides, and do not utter any nuisance, any words that might be detrimental to the relationship. Always did I say step back and have a delayed response that will enable a mellowed response. You will always be assertive, as in saying later on, as things that went on was not the right thing that was accepted or expected from you. So take disappointment from new perspective, laugh it off, play it off, and probably enable you to survive the times. Smooth over differences. This is one we going to need to understand. We need to understand it is okay not to be okay. You can agree to disagree, is what of the one thing that goes around it. Relax and energize yourself. Play communication release fatigue. Relax your body, your mind, which will allow you to recharge and accomplish more. How do we develop playful communication? Try spending quality time. The more you joke, the more you play, the more the laughter becomes easy. Find activities which is enjoyable, to loosen up with someone you want to embrace, and probably build altogether. Resolve conflict positively. Conflict and disagreement are the crux of the relationship. Remember, two people can have the same needs, same opinion, but still differ in their approaches altogether. The ability to manage conflict in a positive, trust building way is supported by previous four skills of emotional intelligence. Remember how you manage those stress, stay emotionally aware, communicate non verbally, use humor, what we have been talking about it. I have been saying about the conflict busting situation, as in to build your trust. Stay focused on the present, be present, do not daydream, do not be in a hypothetical situation, be realistic, be present, and look for opportunity to resolve old feelings. And most importantly, do not have a grudge. If possible, forgive. Do not be there for the other people to remember, make you remember, or let's say exhibit hurtful behaviors about everything about the past. Put it under the carpet, dust it out, resolve conflict, start afresh. Remember, end conflicts that can't be resolved, if there are stalemate, it is better that you walk it out. You can choose to disengage. That is what all conflict will essentially relate to. It doesn't mean to have a bad blood within the situation of a person. So be focused on the situation, be forgiving, and in conflict that are in the stalemate, walk is the best thing. With this, I wind up my this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.